All right, there we go. Thank you, Shirley, for reminding me. Otherwise, that would have been bad. Alrighty, so voting. I was gonna vote yes to accept the $5 million offer. Do we have any other yeses?
I was going to vote no.
I also
Okay.
was going to vote no.
Alrighty.
And that's only because I guess you have to
So
explain why, right?
Well, we're supposed to do that next, but it says if yes, what should he do with the money? But yeah.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
and
What are you
then
going to
if
do with
no,
your
why
$5
not?
million?
So I could see both sides. I know at the end of the study they were talking about not wanting to get too much money, and it would be significantly more um, than they'd had in the past. I saw an opportunity. I mean, with rolling out RentJuice real time, there were going to be significant expenses. There are going to be bugs that are going to need to be fixed. It would help to hire some more engineers to help that and move it along. I could see if you have some bugs or if there are some issues that you need to put money into, where if you don't have enough, yeah, they have enough for operations for 8 months, but that was a very specific number. Having the $5 million now would fund you for a little bit longer. But I thought it would help to have that in the bank to do some hiring, and it would help with the rolling out of RentJuice real time. Plus, if this gives them an opportunity to expand into their other markets that they had their eyes on, going down to Florida. So I thought they could put that to use in that way.
Okay.
Alrighty. So what are the reasons for no?
Well, one of the reasons I thought is that they still haven't gotten their, let's see, where's the consumer, where did all that stuff go that I had? Oh, there it is. That the consumer lifetime value isn't high enough and their consumer acquisition cost is too high. And so because of that, they're not turning a profit yet, is one of the reasons. And that was one of the investors told them they needed to get that in line before that they could raise more money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my reasons were that they had the money for 8 months. They just had this competitor come up, and if they were going to bring on more money right away, then they'd have to focus on keeping the investor happy instead of focusing on their new real-time product that they need to really focus on and get correct so they could start marketing it and bringing in sales for that. And then, so they really just need to go after that. And I don't think he likes to roll out a product that he doesn't know how to monetize yet. And so I think that's where they need to focus on before. And then if that product is successful, then it might bring up the value of their company. And so that's when they would need to go get more funding, is later down the road. That was my thoughts.
Yeah. The only thing that, because I thought more no than yes also, the only thing that made me lean toward yes maybe a little bit is I was thinking when I read part of it that it could take months to get it. Well, if they have 8 months in the bank and they start, if it takes months, it may not be that much of a difference for getting money when they need it.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking, knowing that given that this was offered, this could be an opportunity to kind of raise it kind of quickly. And if you can make your terms work for everybody, then it would be worth it instead of having to go out and seek for money. You're having money come at you. But obviously the terms and conditions would have to be optimal. so that maybe you work it out so that you wouldn't necessarily have to focus on pleasing your investors, but that they would have the clear vision of where you're headed and what your goals are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that might be easier said than done, because once they invest, they want to see progress really fast.
Yeah, that's true. I think, and my thinking was that maybe it would be easier to make that progress once you have this funding and you can maybe add some hires and
Yeah.
not necessarily burn through it quickly, but start to make, you could open an office in a different city as you're establishing yourself, like open an office in New York or open an office down south.
Yeah.
Going down towards Florida, but I could definitely see reasons, yes and no. Where's my pen? There it is. Alrighty, so it says read page 7. It says I tried to raise funds. Conversion funnel. So I'm looking at page 7.
I think they just mean that little paragraph there, kind of in the middle.
Okay. So I tried to raise funds from Sand Hill Road venture capitalists in October and November. It's just down the road from me. They liked our team and our idea, but they told me to come back when I had proved the model in more than one city, demonstrated lifetime customer value well in excess of average customer acquisition cost, and had reliable data on my sales cycle and conversion funnel. So then it asks, why do investors care about customer lifetime value, customer acquisition cost, and sales conversion data?
Well, I think first they would be concerned about the customer lifetime value because one is first of all, like if the acquisition cost, like in their case, is $2,300, but then the value, like if they only stayed on for like a year and then they only brought in less than 2,300, then really the value of that customer is nothing. And so what they're looking for is if they stay on, for a long, long time, so they're always generating income from this person, then, maybe that first year they cost 2,300, but then any year after that, they're pure profit. So that's why they're concerned about it.
Yeah, because they're looking for the ability for the company to make profit. And that's why they care about those numbers. Because, because like Rachel said, if you put in too much to get a customer and it's more than you're going to get back out of it, you're not being profitable.
And if you're not converting those leads into sales, then that's not something you want to put money into.
No, because that's also a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're spending a lot of time and money on that with your employees, and then if you're not getting anything out of it, it's just a waste.
Alrighty. Number 4 asks, what is the customer lifetime value of a RentJuice customer?
Well, if I did it right, I got it right now with those numbers that they're a negative $1,132.
All right. So I was confused about, so I could understand what the annual profit contribution was for a customer. But then, how did you estimate the average number of years that they would remain?
Okay, what I did, I found a website that had how to do that. So let me move all this other stuff out of the way and I'll put it up and I'll show you how I did it, okay?
Yeah, because I understand like their churn rate of 38%, but did it tell us how many customers they were bringing in? Like a year?
Yeah, are you able to?
So there's an
You bring it up bigger, so.
There it is.
Can you see that?
Now I can.
Okay, there was a YouTube video, which I have the link right here, and that was done by a marketing lecturer at the University of Sydney, and it talked about, the simple customer lifetime value calculation. So he says that the formula is you use the average lifetime in years times your profit minus your acquisition costs. So the average acquisition cost is $22.90. I could put it up to $2,300, like it said in the problem, but on page 10, it gave us the number of $22.90. So the average customer profit per year is $440.
Now that was $440 a month.
I said per year, didn't it?
No, it was
it's
$440 monthly.
Monthly revenue.
Okay.
Yeah,
well
so
then,
yeah,
okay.
$52.80 for a year.
Okay, then I got that number wrong, so that means they are profitable. So I'll fix that one. Well, the reason I got that, because that's right, annual profit. Okay, so I need to fix that. So I will do that right now. Times 12. So now they're profitable. Almost. Let's see, equals. Put that in front of that. Okay. So then how I did the rest of, not a percent. To get the lifetime, he said how you do that is you take 1 and divide it by your churn rate, and that gives you your average lifetime in years.
Okay. Yeah, because that's where I was lost, and yeah. Thank you for even finding a YouTube on that. So I was like, what do I do with that number?
Yeah. So
love that YouTube.
So so I guess they're worth 11,604. Well, that's better than being negative. So
yeah.
So I'll take the screen sharing off there, and then here's the YouTube link. I put it up there if you're interested in looking at it. Okay. Because I put it up on the chat on there. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. At first, when you had that, I was like, oh, did I miss something? Did he give us that link to look at it?
No, because I was like, how do you find this? And so I started looking for things.
Yeah. Because I found the basic formula how to do it, but then that 38%, I was like, that makes no sense to me. What is that? An average number of years.
So yeah, it looks like 11,604 is what they're. That sounds much better than being worth negative numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That means they were making some revenue, so yeah.
Well, then that would make me change my opinion on whether they should accept funding or not, because I thought they weren't making a profit. If they are, then.
Yeah. because they're going back, looking through, their monthly revenues were going up, and they were becoming more and more successful. There wasn't really an indication that something was going wrong or that it might go wrong, which is, to me, an indicator why they were getting that $5 million offer. So they definitely saw something of value there.
Yeah, their monthly revenues were going up, but their monthly revenue per customer was about the same.
Yeah.
Because for 2010, their monthly per customer averaged about $368.
And they had switched to a subscription, so they were going to be switching to this. I thought that was a good move.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so looking at the conversion funnel, how well is the sale funnel at RentJuice working? What can you think of to improve it, and how can you reduce your customer acquisition cost? It didn't seem to me like it was working particularly well, given that you were only getting 2 subscribers from 100 qualified leads.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, I thought that too.
I thought that was a rather serious deficiency. So my first reaction to that was to look at what they were calling a qualified lead. And my first thought was that maybe they were being a little too strict on that. After reading through it a little bit more, I got skeptical about that, but it just seemed like maybe they were skipping over a few opportunities that could have helped out a little bit more.
Like what?
Well, it just doesn't. Let me see if I can. Where was it? My note taking is lacking. When they were going through the how they qualified their leads, I can't remember what page it's on.
If I can find
I'm in
it.
the marketing section.
Okay, it's page 7, I think.
Yeah, that's where I was.
Well, that's where they talk about the funnel, is on page 7.
Yeah. There's another page, it might be a little later, where they talk about the kinds of people that they were looking for, like their target customer. Let's see if I can find it. I can't find it. Oh, here you go. So they were. This is after the conversion funnel. They formalized their criteria to vet brokerage leads. They ended up including. They checked if the lead had a website, if they marketed rental properties, and if they only handled the MLS rentals. And it says at first our salespeople were selling to customers who were not fully qualified and who couldn't make effective use of our product. So to qualify our leads, we now look for the big firms in metropolitan areas who are the major rental players. So it looks like they were going for some small potatoes initially, and now they go for the big fish.
Yeah.
And it seemed like they were kind of avoiding that at the beginning, because whether it was being intimidated by the size of the market or not being confident in the product that they had. So it looks like making that conversion funnel or working it out helped them kind of get a better idea of who they needed to aim for.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They needed to kind of narrow down who their salespeople were even calling. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think with that, then they kind of pinpointed it on that same page that you were just reading on, where they pinned it to those 3 like selling techniques. Saying first, we help you keep track of dynamic but messy inventory data. And then second, we provide you with one-click advertising. And then their third thing was we save you time filling out paperwork, which is the task that doesn't earn you money, which I think that's probably the most selling feature right there. So
yeah. So as far as improving their sales funnel, they need to. I think that I like the idea they had of getting evangelists, because they really need that word of mouth out there, because that's probably how they're going to spread it the best. And I liked how they were going to tie it to their new product. And so if landlords are advertising on the real time, then which one is it? The marketers? Those who are on
the landlords?
RentJuice, not the landlords, the brokers, that's it. The brokers who aren't on RentJuice won't be able to see their leads.
Yeah.
So that might help them with.
So they'll have to sign in or have an account.
Yeah, if they want to see.
How can we?
But reducing the compute.
How
the
can we
customer
reduce?
costs.
Sorry?
No. Yeah, but reducing that, I don't know, because well, if they're making less calls,
Would that involve reducing how much we're spending in the marketing on the marketing side? They talk about how once real time kind of gets going, the word of mouth factor is going to help them out a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe reducing the amount of marketing you put in once that kicks in will help that. I think back about I mean, do you remember all the Grey Poupon commercials?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Grey Poupon hasn't gone away. People still use it. It's still there. People still buy it, but they don't make those commercials anymore. So it seems to me that once everybody kind of that was going to buy that stuff started buying it, they realized that we don't need to spend money on these commercials anymore. I imagine that kind of lowered their customer acquisition cost a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know besides that what else we could say on that.
Yeah, because from what I understood, if I understood it right, their acquisition costs come mostly from their marketing. The employee cost for making phone calls and
Yeah, that's what I thought.
yeah. So unless you have another way of doing it besides having your employees call or do the web seminars or just then it's going to cost the same. Well, another way of reducing the employee acquisition cost is the customer cost is to have more customers. Because if you get more customers with the same amount of what you're putting into it, so if they get more than 2 per 100, that would reduce it.
Would outsourcing some of those responsibilities to reduce the labor cost help?
I don't know, because you're still paying labor costs. I mean,
But yeah, I know.
Are you talking like outsourcing it to like Mexico?
Yeah, like to a different country, like with all the call centers in India.
India, yeah.
I know that's specifically why they do that. Would that be
well, that would help with reducing it, but
yeah,
you need to have if you're outsourcing to another country, you need to have people who can speak English well. Because when I talk to people who I can't understand, it's very frustrating. Because I know they're speaking English, but the accent is heavy enough that I can't understand it.
Yeah, it might be a little tricky with like a newer product that they're trying to sell.
Yeah.
I can see it like on the customer service side after they've been established for a little while, but yeah, I don't know. But yes, as a financial person thinking only at that aspect of it, then yes, it would be a good move. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what they really need to do is get more than 2 subscribers per 100. So they need to figure out how to get more people to actually subscribe. So they have to figure out what the customer really wants so they can sell it to them better. Because then they would get more revenue for the same amount of advertising they're putting out, which would reduce their customer acquisition cost.
All right. How should Vivera respond to the new competition? It says list all options you can think of, list pros and cons of each option, and as a group, you must decide on a course of action. Well, it seemed to me like they were kind of already starting to do that with their new product because their new competition was aiming their business at the landlord aspect of it. So it seemed like they were kind of, I guess, streamline your real time and make sure that it's a viable product and put enough resources into it so that it works and it works well. Because even if you have competition, if you've got a customer base that's fanatic enough about your product and you present them with a new option that's the same as a competitor's, they're going to go with your product. That's why people, Apple, for example, Apple, people that buy Apple products, I mean, they're going to buy the watch, whether it's as good as the Samsung watch or the Sony watch or not. They're just kind of going to go with it. So if you can maintain that customer base, that faith in you, and then roll out this product that still works, they should be able to keep their customers and maybe even grow a little bit through that.
Yeah, they have to. They just need to really focus on, like you said, getting a product that works. Because I don't think any landlord wants to deal with a product that's just going to end up in more frustration for them than it already is to find a renter for their homes. But
yeah.
Okay, so that is one option, is for launching real time and put resources into it. So pros for...
What would be the con of that? It's probably going to be expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say probably the resources that would take to actually get it, like you said, all the bugs worked out of it and all that.
A pro is that it will integrate with the product they already have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe they could, I don't know, give landlords a deal at first.
I think they're not going to charge for the product at first.
Is that, I can't remember if you were going to still do that as a...
It is going to be a free option.
A free option, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're going to have to... Yeah, but they're going to have to become subscribing members in order to use it.
I thought it was the brokers who had to become the brokers that the landlords...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The brokers that the landlords like to deal with. If they weren't already subscribers, they would have to become subscribers in order to see the real-time list.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I was thinking if they could market to the landlords that they were getting a deal, but it's free, so that's a good deal in itself.
Yeah.
So I do think that they need to go after the landlords, because they weren't really focusing on the landlords until they were trying to get this product off the ground. They're more interested in the brokers and things like that. So I do think they need to start selling to the landlords as well.
Yeah, they do. Because when they started this project back in 2007, I guess it was 2008 when they started it, because the original plan was to start with brokers and then add landlords and then add the renters.
Yeah.
But so because at the time of the article, they said it's December 2010. And so it was a couple months earlier in October, they had started working on the landlord component. But as they were working on it, they found their competition. So they had already started working on it, but maybe they should have started sooner. Maybe not on that. But.
Well, I think, yeah, I don't know if they could have started it sooner, because I think they were still trying to work on how to monetize their first product.
Yeah.
And then, so now that's why they're thinking, oh, I don't really want to push a new product until we could figure out how to monetize this one as well. But they might not get that opportunity. They might need to capture it while they can. So.
Are there any other options of responding, of how to respond?
Yeah, other than marketing straight to the landlords,
there was the evangelists That I know it was a concept that they had, but perhaps putting more effort into developing that strategy might help them.
Yeah. Because the pros of the evangelist is a lot of positive word of mouth.
Yeah, and well, and if they have the product and they like it, then they tend to, show another person how it's used, and so they don't have to take that money of one of their own employees showing another person of how the product works.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And that'll reduce their marketing costs too. So that's another positive.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any negatives to that.
Probably just the cost of doing it.
Cost of hiring your evangelist?
Yeah, I know they hadn't decided on the compensation process of that, so they're going to have to put some time into that. And
yeah. So back to marketing to the landlords. We talked about, if we talked about it, I missed it. What are the pros and cons of focusing on the landlords themselves?
Sorry?
Well, the pros of going straight to the landlords would, just awareness, so that they know that this other product is out there. Because if they're only going to this one because it's the only one out there, then.
Yeah, so it's specifically for the landlords to publish new listings on RentJuice to brokers that they prefer to work with. So
it gives them better access to their brokers, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the con would be as if their preferred broker won't sign up, because then it won't be a benefit to the landlord.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to add?
Okay, so. All right. So that means our course of action is to launch real time and put enough resources into it so it works well, market to the landlords, and hire the evangelists, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep, in a nutshell.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Shall I do the summary?
Sure.
All right. So we started out by voting. I was the lone yes initially of accepting the $5 million offer based on the seeming relative ease of getting the funding and the potential growth that it could produce. The two no's were mostly because the company's not necessarily scaled to the point where they could necessarily use this money. They're not. Their costs are high, and they're not particularly profitable, and haven't reached scale yet. Talking about what they could do with the money, what would it produce? We talked about revenue generation and the ability for the company to make a profit once they've bridged that gap to the break-even process. We determined that the customer lifetime value at the moment was $11,604.74 per customer. How well the sale funnel at RentJuice is working, it didn't seem to us initially that it was working particularly well. Our thoughts of improving it were hiring RentJuice evangelists, tying in the new real-time product, increasing, just using those two options to get more customers and thereby increase the efficiency of the conversion funnel. And then we talked about the possibility of outsourcing certain systems to another country in an effort to possibly lower that customer acquisition cost. How to respond to new competition. We talked about streamlining real time, putting resources into it so that it was that it worked out, that it worked properly, and that any initial bugs were improved. We thought that this would help integrate with the new product. A con would be that it will be expensive to do this and will take maybe some resources away from other areas. We talked about, again, developing the RentJuice Evangelist program and the fact that this word of mouth marketing strategy would help reduce the customer acquisition costs. A con to that would be the compensation package for each evangelist and how much that might cost the company in the long run. Was there another option?
I think you got it.
All right.
Yeah.